You're welcome back to Business Edge. Once again, my name is Chamon Dabeng, and let's move on to start our discussion for today. And we're zooming in on NNPCL. Now, the NNPC Limited has reported a strong financial performance for the 2025 fiscal year, posting a profit after tax of 5.4 trillion naira on a revenue of 45.1 trillion naira. Now, reflecting significantly year-on-year growth, the company's robust results highlight improved operational efficiency and the momentum of its ongoing transformation under the Petroleum Industry Act. Alongside its earnings, NNPC unveiled an ambitious strategic roadmap through 2030, focus on boosting oil and gas production, expanding critical gas infrastructure, and mobilizing $60 billion investment to strengthen energy security and advance Nigeria's energy transition. Also, Shell has approved the final investment decision for the $10 billion Bonga South West project, accelerating development nearly 3 years ahead of schedule. The deepwater investment will add 150,000 barrels per day production capacity, strengthen Nigeria's offshore output, and reinforce confidence in the country's evolving regulatory and energy investment landscape. Now, to discuss more on this, I have with me Bonga Olojede, and he's a finance expert. Mr. Bonga, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, great. Let's get right into it. Now, the NNPC Limited has reported exceptional revenue and profit growth for 2024. Now, in which ways might this financial performance influence investor confidence and future capital inflows into Nigeria's energy sector?
Well, it's a very great development, and we must commend the minders of that institution. What the institution had been known for in some years past had been, non-profitability, poor management, lack of transparency, and a whole lot of other things. In fact, there was a time when NNPC did not even have an up-to-date audited account. Their accounts were always in several years arrears. But that has changed, and it is beginning to position that institution for what some of us have been waiting for over the years, which will be an institution that could go public and raise money and bestow ownership on Nigerians and other investor categories who may want to invest in NNPC Limited. And we might begin to set the right foundation for our own equivalent of the Aramco and the Petrobras of this world.
All right, Mr. Bonga, so the company has since outlined a $60 billion investment pipeline through 2030. Now, which segments of the energy value chain stand to receive the largest share of this capital, and why might these areas be prioritized?
It is expected, for example, that because of the energy transition program, this is a global thing, and Nigeria, being an oil-producing country, cannot afford to be held back. So gas is being pushed forward as an energy of transition. Although gas is still fossil fuel, but it is cleaner than oil. And therefore, asking, when we're saying, fossil fuel is bad, producers of fossil fuel, everybody needs to move to renewables and all the rest. There are several dimensions of problems with that initiative. But with something like gas standing in that middle as the energy of transition, it helps to smoothing the movement away from fossil fuel. So we can go from starting from less of oil to more of gas and then into renewables. So definitely gas is an area that will be of focus by virtue of the transition. Then for the multinationals, as we have seen, the multinationals, they have left the onshore, operations largely, moved into the ocean. They have gone upstream into the offshore assets. So they sold their onshore and went offshore. Now we are going to continue to see investment in this offshore, as it were, in both oil as well as gas over a number of years. Now we have seen what Shell has done with the Bonga asset, part of which we saw the investment. I think that was earlier this year or late last year, and now they have come back, gotten an approval for the investment of about 10 billion also. So some of this definitely will go into expanding their capacity to produce oil, and over time we'll also begin to see the gas thing. The same thing is what we're going to see NNPC replicate. You want to be able to maximize your oil asset while oil still has value. But at the same time, you must begin to recognize the fact that gas as the energy of transition deserves serious investment. So gas will receive a lot of investment, even with NNPC's plans.
All right, so I'd like to call your attention back to the plans of the NNPC Limited right now, because they're quite ambitious. We're talking about moving daily production to about 3 million barrels per day in comparison to where we are right now. How possible do you think this really is, and what changes need to be made to make sure that these plans that have been put in from date all the way to 2030 actually come into fruition?
Number one, let's admit the reality that the asset is there under the ground. As a matter of fact, although today, for about a year or more, we have danced around that 1.5 million barrels per day, but this country has done 2.5 million barrels in years past. So it shows that it is possible. And now that we're coming back into more seriousness, that we have been able to deal seriously with the issue of oil theft, that we are trying to professionalize the way we run NNPC. We don't have all those NNPC of the past that will not have an audited account for 5 years. Now it's an NNPC that 2024 account is ready in 2025. And in fact, the timing of the readiness will even be further improved upon if we are willing to put money in the right places. And what do I mean by that? This is a country that invested probably a couple of billions of dollars in trying to revamp the dead refineries. And as we speak, none of those refineries is working. There was a certain report that said that Warri refinery alone took about almost $1 billion in investment. So we put all those billions of dollars in investment in dead refineries. We had no result whatsoever from those investments. So those were obviously very wrongly placed investment. So if we make better decisions on where to put money, where to invest in, all these numbers that we're throwing up are realistic. The problem has never been about competence anyway, and I'm also glad that the guys at the helm of affair right now are up to scratch about what to do. They are industry people, they've been there, they've done that. So when it comes to the capacity of the managers, of the human resources to deliver, there is no doubt. When it comes to the presence of those resources in itself, the resources are there under the ground. And if we make the right decisions to put money where money should be put, and to improve on our transparency and sense of accountability, unlike what we had with the refineries, that nobody is being held to account for all that investment that happened in the refineries. If we put money in the right places, all those things we're talking about are possible. The Shell Bonga asset that you're talking about, according to that report, might be able to add on about 150,000 barrels per day. That is huge. And there are several other fields. I'm aware there have been a lot of engagement to even put back some of the Ogoni wells back into operations. So if those discussions, which have been going on which have been going on for a while now, start to produce results, and some of the very prolific wells in Ogoniland are back into production, the Shell Bonga thing is into production, several other things that coming up, we will expand our capacity and production will rev up dramatically. So those numbers, they look ambitious, but I do not believe that it is impossible for a country that probably 15 years ago had done 2.5 million barrels and is back to 1.5 anyway. We can go back to where we were and we can do even much more than where we were.
I would like to make reference to what you were saying prior to the break in transmission. I would like to talk about what you said on putting money in the right place. And you brought up refineries that money was also put into. So obviously the issue of money is not enough to keep it running. So what policy shifts need to be made to make sure that we also see growth as well as gain coming from these plans?
I'm sorry, I missed part of what you said. Can you recap?
All right, so you earlier had made reference to investments and putting money where money needs to be. And earlier you also brought up the fact that the federal government had also put in money into refineries in order to revive them. But nonetheless, they're still pretty much unrevived. So obviously money is not the issue. We need more than just money to make sure that these plans actually go through without fail. So what policy shifts need to be put in place to ensure that there's not just growth, but there's gain as well coming from this?
I'm not sure it's more of a policy thing, but just improving the transparency and accountability environment for our investment. I think the guy that is at the helm of affair now is a private sector man, so he has been there, he has done that. If our decision making is made along the line of how a private sector organization will make decisions, then that is just about all that is required. So the NNPC of today must be able to make investment decisions that are based on profitability, on sustainability, they are not emotional things, So for example, no private sector player will have made the investment that we made in those refineries. Nobody will have done it, But it was government money, and I guess that must have been what was driving what was going on. And up till today, we are not holding anybody to account for that level of spending with zero result. So we must be able to move away from that kind of wastage by improving our transparency and accountability environment for the investment that we're going to be making. And if we do that, we'll put money where money is supposed to go, and we'll get results, as it were.
All right, so let's quickly take a look at the reduced acquisition. Now that came down by 10% interest in OML, 118 aligned with Shell's strategic objectives for deep water growth and long-term upstream production stability. What do you make of this? How does the reduced 10% acquisition interest affect these aspects?
That was NNPC reducing his stake.
So could you come again?
I said, was that NNPC reducing its stake? You were reading a portion of the report right now. I said, was that NNPC that was reducing its stake?
So I'll just take the question again. How does the reduced 10% acquisition interest in OML 118 align with Shell's strategic objectives for deepwater growth and long-term upstream production stability?
Okay. The details of their reduction of a stake in a particular OML and probably an increase in another one is strictly an investment decision. And I want to believe that they had their projections cut out for them in making that decision. I'm never truly concerned about investment decisions made by private operators who have been there, done that. The one that might require more scrutiny are the one that are not used to, making decisions strictly based on profitability and on sustainability. That is when government is the one making that decision, because some other factors can go into it. But from what we have seen of what Shell is trying to do, the decision will rev up production, and it is believed that over a number of years, the asset, the Bonga asset, will be able to together produce up to 150,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bola. We really appreciate your time.